After Joseph Smith's death, Brigham Young led the Saints west and turned plural marriage into a defining pillar of life in Utah. When the U.S. cracked down, fundamentalists broke away and built Short Creek, a remote community where polygamy and absolute obedience never stopped. Under Uncle Roy and then Rulon Jeffs, control tightened, families were reassigned, and loyalty meant everything. And in the background, Rulon's son Warren was quietly positioning himself as the movement's next prophet. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought musical chairs was fun, stick around. Wait until you hear all about musical wives. This is Necronomipod.
I finally watched Ricky Stenicki the other night, John Cena classic. As he wraps up his WWE career, I figured I might as well jump into some of his acting so I can get my fix of, the greatest of all time.
And
I was a little disappointed.
really? I thought you'd like it.
Yeah. It was okay. A few times I laughed out loud. Like those songs he had for masturbation were hilarious. But the rest of it was just like, it was just fine. Blockers set a very high bar for my standard of John Cena comedies.
Good point.
We'll see what comes of that. But it was fine. I have not watched, what's the superhero one he does?
Suicide Squad.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Is he good in that? Have you seen that?
Yeah. I saw the first season of it. I know there's more, or he might even got his own spin-off out of that. I'm not sure, but the first season that I watched was good.
Well, and isn't he isn't his character like a little bit like comedic? Like it's like a laugh, haha type thing?
Yeah, like a dark humor kind of. It's
What
definitely different. Like if you've never seen John Cena act and you just recognize him from wrestling and being like the ultra good guy.
Yeah.
It's different to see him acting like that and like saying fuck and whatever.
This Peacemaker. That's what it is, right? Yeah. Okay.
That's the character's name.
Yeah. It's got that fucking weird golden dome helmet that looks like a cockhead.
That's all those fucking DC comic book characters. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't really like DC stuff at all.
Is DC Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I like.
Suicide Squad. That makes sense. Dave, you're not a Peacemaker guy?
No, never seen it.
Okay. I might watch that at some point. I think there's a couple seasons of it. We'll see. So that's what I got going on. You guys watch anything good recently?
Stranger Things. But that's like super current, so I don't want to spoil any of that for anybody.
Okay. Even by giving your opinion on it? Like you don't even want to say if you liked it or disliked it?
I mean, I liked what there is so far, but they broke it up into 4 episodes. Just came out the other day on Thanksgiving. Then 3 more come out on Christmas Day. And then the final comes out on New Year's Eve.
Like the final episode?
Mm-hmm.
And these episodes, like from what I saw, were like 2 hours. Like they were each a movie.
So far, they've all been over an hour, right? All of them.
I don't watch the show. I've just, from what I've seen, like on Netflix, it looks like they're all super long.
Yeah.
Huh.
I watched the first episode only, so far so good. I feel like I should have watched the refresher. I saw the Duffer Brothers put out a list of like 4 episodes you should go back and watch before diving into this season. I didn't do that. I may do that before I watch episode 2.
Are the Duffer Brothers the creators of the show?
Yeah.
Oh. I'll tell
There was like pretty good like a half-hour thing on YouTube that I watched that was a nice refresher on everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
When did the last season come out? Like, was it like last year? Was it a couple years?
I feel like it's been a couple years, right? It seems like it's been a while.
I remember if I'm correct, the actors, the strike really fucked up the filming of this, and there was concerns about it, like how much they would age in between. Because for me personally, my only critique is like it's a little hard to believe that some of these now grown adults are still kids. You know what I mean? It's a little like,
I agree. That's how a lot of shit is now, though. Oh, 15-year-old, it's played by a 32-year-old, and you're like, okay.
Well, yeah, Harry Potter's 56 when he finally graduates Hogwarts. You're like, get the fuck out of here.
I'm not buying it, Hank.
Yeah, Hermione was a kid, and then she was a smoke show, and now she's a grandma. I get it. It's Harry Potter.
Yeah, that would be my only critique, is that some of them look a little older than.
That's fair. But what are you going to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's fucking life. I mean,
it would be worse if they hired like new actors to play them, right? And just be like, no, this is the same.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That would ruin everything.
Yeah.
I mean, stranger things have happened.
Of course. I was at the gas station the other day, and they have this new Stranger Things Gatorade. It's fucking awesome. It was delicious, like citrus type flavor. Real good. So check that out.
I've heard multiple people say that. Yeah.
Do they drink Gatorade on the show? Like, is that a bit or is it?
It is in this season. For whatever. I mean, it's not like a big thing, but they do drink the Gatorade.
Oh, spoiler. God.
Well, if you get the chance, I highly recommend trying it out. That's delicious stuff.
It actually stood out to me when they were drinking Gatorade, because the show's based in 87. They were drinking out of glass Gatorade bottles.
Yeah.
You remember those, Dave?
Yeah. I certainly do.
I remember they had those when we were kids even.
Really?
I think so. I mean, I remember them, so I don't know if I saw it on something or if I drank, but I vaguely remember that. But like they used to have, like when you went to restaurants, you could order, I remember as a kid, it was so cool. You could get root beer still in the glass bottles. And like, that was always cool to me.
Yeah.
Everything was glass way back when. Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah. Get your 5 cents back when you go take your bottle back.
That's
the oceans were much
10
cleaner, let me tell you.
10 cents in Michigan, right?
Yeah. Do all that old cross-border scam, right?
Speaking of scams, we got a story tonight.
So where we left off on part 2, Joseph Smith and his brother had been killed. Remember that was like the whole theatrical thing. He fell out of the window, and they were really like trying to string him up and shit, and it was crazy. So after he died, Nauvoo blew up. Anti-Mormon mobs in Illinois were done with the whole experiment and started pushing the saints out for real. By late 1844, Brigham Young had stepped into the leadership vacuum. His main goals were to hold the church together and protect what he saw as its key doctrines. Plural marriage absolutely included.
Oh, you don't say. You don't say. Hey, Ian, if you're having a party, and I was thinking about bringing some girls over, do you have any advice?
Brigham Young.
All right, pal. Just want to see what your advice was.
Brigham Young.
This is very seductive.
That's terrible. I don't like that at all.
I don't like that one bit.
That could be misused a lot.
It probably will be.
I'm going to be honest. I was looking down the first time Dave played that, and I thought that was Ian actually saying it. And I was like, wow, he really teed up on that joke. And then, no. I was bamboozled.
Life imitating art over here.
Inside the inner circle, Brigham and the apostles agreed that if they dropped polygamy, they'd basically be calling one of Joseph's revelations fake. In their minds, that meant betraying God. So even as Nauvoo got more dangerous, they kept quietly performing plural marriages while planning a mass move west. Through 1845, work on the Nauvoo temple was rushed so that they could at least get the attic finished and in use by late 1845. In those last frantic months before the Exodus, a flood of members went through for endowments and sealings, which those are the marriages, just like running people through that attic.
I have a question.
What? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a question. Your thoughts on this as we've been talking through all this. Do you think these guys were truly like believers and thought this was from God and stuff, or are they just trying to get a way to protect all the pussy that they could now have and their wives couldn't do anything about it? Like, it's all a scam, right? They don't really think God's telling them this thing, right?
I think there's probably levels to it. There's definitely some true believers.
Yeah. Even at I guess like at the top inner circle, or is it just known amongst them that this is the scam on how you get to make this happen? And, you know, some of the lower level people might believe, but when you're at the top, I just always wonder in these things, do they believe it all, or is it just an acknowledged thing?
Whatever you want to call that rim on the, like, there's the cult leader, the inner circle, and then whatever that bubble is between the main population and the inner circle, those people, I feel like any moment they could step into the inner circle and they're true believers, but once they step in, then they have to accept that it's the scam. And if they can't accept that it's the scam, then they're not in the inner circle.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there also a case, though, where you just you say it so much and you preach it so much that you really just start to believe it?
Could be.
And just kind of, you know, trick yourself into being like, yeah, this is what we believe. This is how it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you've been kayfabing it so long.
And after a while, like, maybe this is what God really did. It's working so well for me. And so, yeah,
right.
Sure.
You just convince yourself it's the truth and it's what's right.
Right. Yeah, that's always my main question with shit like this, is that what level of belief do the people at the top have? And I always just default to thinking that they all know it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't think that Joseph's early scribes were in on the scam necessarily. I think he was finding those people, like he was scamming those people, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know necessarily when he started bringing in other people. I guess with that guy, the Bennett, the guy that tried to kind of go into business for himself with the polygamy and kind of use Joseph's name on it.
Right. I think that's spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Brigham himself kept adding wives during this period. Last week we ended on this quote where he said that when he found out about plural marriage, when Joseph like broke the news to him, he said it made him want to, quote, crawl into his grave. But pretty quick, by early 1846, he had more than 10 wives.
Such adaptability. How brave, Brigham. How so brave of you.
In February 1846, the first wagon companies rolled out of Nauvoo, crossing the icy Mississippi River and kicking off the Mormon exodus. Over the next months, thousands followed across Iowa toward the Rocky Mountains. In July 1847, after a brutal trip, Brigham Young and the First Pioneer Company reached the Salt Lake Valley. Technically, it was still Mexican territory, way out in what is now Utah and far from any U.S. state. To the Saints, it looked like a blank slate for the new Zion. It was remote, barely settled, and home mostly to native tribes. There weren't clear United States marriage laws on the ground yet, so on paper, this is perfect. They could be open about polygamy. No one to really stop them.
No one to throw them out the window again.
Yeah. The picture I used on Patreon for the post for that episode is so crazy. Like all the guys with rifles aimed up at that window shooting him.
This wild stuff went on back then.
For the first few years in Utah, leaders kind of tiptoed around plural marriage worked as an open secret. It was taught inside trusted circles and among longtime members, but they weren't announcing it to new converts. The minute they stepped off the wagon, like, hey, you can marry as many people as you want. As new settlements popped up across the territory, plural households quietly multiplied. Newcomers would slowly realize that some leading men had more than one wife, and over time, the pattern became normal inside the community while they still denied it to outsiders.
Ooh, a lot of cooties in those houses, right? All those women being around.
Tons.
Gross.
The big public reveal came on August 29th, 1852. At a special conference in Salt Lake City, Apostle Orson Pratt got up and gave a big sermon where he said basically, yes, plural marriage is real, and yes, Joseph taught it as a commandment from God. He then read Joseph's 1843 revelation on celestial and plural marriage. That was the one we talked about last week, that D&C 32. So they read that out loud. Brigham Young backed him up and told the world that this was part of their religion. After that, the church stopped pretending that there was no doctrine.
So finally, freedom to marry who you want. Again and again.
Well, maybe
Sort
not
of.
necessarily who you want.
Who's available?
Yeah.
After all the elders
Who's
take the
given
good
to
stock,
you.
right?
Right, I was going to say, after they all scoop up who they want, you left with, it's 2 a.m. and the lights come on at the bar.
The breeding at the lower level is going to be making some uggos, right?
Yeah, probably.
This kind of put people in a weird spot from what I was reading. Missionaries now had to go, like they were expected to go out and explain this on their missions. Like when you're trying to get people to convert, this is part of it. Like we marry more than one wife. Utah papers ran defenses of it. It was super unpopular outside the territory. Obviously, we've been talking about how unpopular Mormons have been for the past 3-4 weeks now. And this didn't help their case at all. Orson Pratt, who read all this out loud, tried to make a logical case for it in 1852. He argued that a, quote, multiplicity of wives let faithful families bring more children into the world under covenant. In that worldview, there are tons of premortal spirits waiting for good homes. Big polygamous families could, quote, raise up more righteous children and help fulfill God's promise to Abraham. Have as many kids as you fucking possibly can.
I love the premortal spirit stuff. Like there's just a pool of little kids out there waiting, and as soon as you get those magic underpants off and shoot some seed up into her, they're not premortal anymore.
I like to think that's like the NFL draft and they're all sitting there waiting. And then as soon as like semen gets locked on an egg, it's like, oh, which one of you's being drafted? Which one of you premortal spirits is getting a call up to the big leagues?
They go up like a vacuum tube.
Well, first they got to get their picture right with the hat and with the fucking jersey. and then they go. Fucking Roger Goodell's there for some reason.
It's the spirit of Joseph Smith. He's there.
He's the one taking the photo, shaking their hands, handing them their jersey. Mel Kiper's there with his predictions.
He assigns their magic underpants that they'll wear and grow for life. Beautiful.
They also tried to contrast their system with what they saw as corrupt monogamy. To them, big city America, which, we're in the 1800s, so it's not like big city, but still there's prostitution. There's people that obviously have kids out of wedlock, avoid marriage, whatever. But in that framing, plural marriage, however hard, was sold as the cleaner option. Strict rules, all sex confined to the wives, no mistresses, no brothels, just a tight religious system with one man, multiple wives, and a whole lot of rules. Basically, you don't have to cheat if you have 20 wives, right? Like that's a really long way of them trying to explain that.
Good Lord, when would you find the time?
I'll tell you what, going through all the research for this, having multiple wives sounds absolutely terrible.
Yes. Horrible. Exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine you have to go house to house and tell them about your day like 20 times. And what did you do today? You gotta repeat the story over and over again. I do have questions about the mathematics behind all this. Like if everyone at the top is taking 5, 10, 15 wives, don't you end up with a bunch of single young men with no partner pool to pick from at some point?
You do. And I have an answer for that on part 4.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole documentary dedicated to all those young men.
Those strapping young men who are not tied down to anyone and looking to stick their throbbing dicks into someone.
Yeah.
Are they the incels we know and love today?
No, they're actually just, we'll get into them, but gradually they're pushed out. But when Warren Jeffs takes over, who was the point of this whole series, right? He just does like a mass push out of all of these young men and just throws them out one day, and they're just left to their devices, homeless within the snap of a finger, essentially.
That makes sense. You almost have to, or this thing would collapse under its own weight at some point.
Yeah.
So, that's about what I figured. Okay, good teaser.
Yeah, they're known as Lost Boys. There's a documentary out there about some of them. But they're like kids, we're talking like 14-year-old kids. They're just like, the fuck out of here. Kicked them out.
Very godly.
Yeah. From the 1850s through the 1870s, polygamy shaped life in Utah territory in a huge way. Utah became a United States territory in 1848 after the Mexican-American War, but practically Mormon settlers ran the show day to day. Historians estimate maybe 20 to 30% of Latter-day Saints families actually lived in plural marriage at its height. Most families were still monogamous, but polygamy had massive social weight, and among the top leadership, it was nearly universal.
Did you watch the American Primeval show on Netflix about like Jim Bridger and Fort Bridger out there, and the mountain what's it called? The Mountain Meadow Massacre, where the Mormon militias just slaughtered like 100-something people coming, like settlers passing on their way to California. It is a wild story. They were some not very nice people, this Mormon militia, and read up on that story if you haven't. It's quite interesting, and all the stuff that went on with that. The Utah War.
Is it the like their main? What was that? The Nauvoo? Was it their main militia?
Yeah.
Or was it like some side thing?
No, I think it was the main militia. I believe one person later on, after all, this was in the 1850s, one person who gave the order was executed in the 1870s for this. But yeah, it's an interesting story I had never heard of.
Maybe a lost story someday.
Maybe so.
Brigham Young ended up with around 50 wives altogether. Remember we talked about how they can do like the symbolic or the celestial marriage where the guy, it's just like a power thing. It's got to be. I don't understand that, but he had more than 50 kids with about 16 of those wives, which that is so crazy.
Too much.
My goodness. Brigham Young, a big slavery supporter as well, from what I've read. So,
oh, okay.
Nice. Good for you, Brigham. Quite the characters in the history of this church.
A who's list of characters.
Yeah, something like that.
leader Heber C. Kimball had over 40 wives and more than 60 kids. Other apostles usually had somewhere between 3 and 12 wives. 3 is the number too. I can't remember if I said that last week, but like to get to that whole like next tier of the afterlife, you have to have 3 wives. And there's politics, a lot of politics involved that we'll talk about, where a dude will a guy will fuck up or kind of be a fuck up and he'll be stuck at 2 wives for a long time. Stuff like that.
Penalty box, stuck at 2 wives.
Yeah. Or if like say a leader just purposely doesn't like somebody, like has something against them, they'll leave them stuck at a second wife when everybody around him's getting a third and shit.
Nerd, 2 wives, loser.
The majority of saints, though, they still only had 1 spouse, mostly because plural marriage is super expensive and you needed church approval. Like that, like you do have to pay for 50 kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is a very fucking expensive thing to do.
Yeah.
Family life in plural homes wasn't like a one size fits all. Some richer men gave each wife her own house. That's like top tier leaders. You know, that's not happening with everybody. Or at least her own set of rooms. In smaller, poorer settlements, a husband might have wives in different towns because the church kept sending him on assignments. 1 wife in St. George, another in Salt Lake, maybe a third at like some little outpost. So his life is spent traveling back and forth doing like the missionary thing and then trying to keep his whole family happy.
Exhausting, like I said. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Only rarely during Cucks Across America will I stay in someone's house overnight. And if I do, I require my own set of rooms to have, for myself. Usually you're putting me up at a pretty good hotel, but unless I have to take off that night to get on the road to the next town. But if I'm staying at a house, I like my own set of rooms.
Let me ask a follow-up question there. Logistically, if you were to stay overnight at a house, one would believe you were going to be staying there to dick down the wife all night. Why would you require your own set of rooms, may I ask?
Well, at some point you need to pull out and get to sleep. And for safety purposes, you're not just going to sleep in that bedroom. I like to have my own privacy at that point. If they are paying for the all-inclusive and they want a dicking down all night, then a room wouldn't be necessary because there's not going to be any sleeping. We'll dick down till the sun comes up. Then I'm going to get in my Honda Civic and I'm going to move on down to the next road.
That makes sense. Fascinating life you live, sir. Fascinating.
Might I add, there is underlights and a bass in the trunk. So it's like it's a fucking Honda Civic. It's not something you're going to laugh at when I drive up. Blasting Linkin Park's first album.
This is a very specific person you just described there. There's a term in this world called sister wives, and I know there was some reality TV shows around this idea. But it's like this term of how these women are expected to see each other as spiritual sisters within the same family, which is easier said than done. More often than not, women did not want to share their husband. Like, people have feelings. They're just told, oh, those are sinful feelings. Push that down, but of course there's jealousy and shit.
In your research, did it look like there was a lot of 3-way or group sex going on with all the wives at the same time?
No.
I like the way you asked group sex. 3-ways or group sex going on?
I'm trying to sound clinical, sir.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. A lot of creepy, like when we're talking about like Warren Jeffs and those guys, like just weird, creepy shit. But as far as like the everyday average person, it just seems like, yeah, they just split their times up between wives. They don't make it into like this whole thing, like group thing.
Yeah. Ian, if you and Warren Jeffs were going to go on a double date together and I had to procure you both dates, would you have any advice for how I should approach that?
Bring them young. Oh, man. I say it all slow.
You do. I was going to say it, but I don't want that on recording, and the Dave has me. Oh, I almost worked myself into a big old problem.
Trust me, pal. I got enough voice clips of you to do an AI and make you say anything I want to. So
sure, there's a ton. But at this point, Ian's now in the Epstein files.
Bring him young.
It is. It's so slow and like seductive.
Deliberate.
It's real fucking
Sexy.
real creepy. Chris Hansen's about to walk in.
The men also try to pitch practical upsides. Like when husbands were gone on missions or church business, wives weren't alone. Sister wives could swap childcare, divide housework, run small businesses, do everything together. Like the more the merrier kind of thing.
Well, you put it that way. Sure.
In 1870, women got the right to vote, not because Mormon men thought that they should. It was to show that they weren't brainwashed victims. Once they had the right to vote, many Mormon women used it to defend plural marriage as their own religious choice. On January 13th, 1870, more than 1,000 Latter-day Saints women gathered in Salt Lake City for a massive ladies' mass meeting, is what it was called, where they drafted petitions to Congress saying basically, stop trying to save us. This is the life that we choose.
Or was chosen for their premortal spirits, right?
Yeah. After Joseph looked in that hat. You should Google Joseph Smith seerstone or like hat sometime. That some of the pictures drawn of him looking in his hat out in the woods are so silly.
That was good stuff.
Meanwhile, the rest of the United States was looking at Utah and they're like, no, this doesn't sound right. There was a lot of anti-Mormon writers that pumped out novels and magazines about, these wives basically living in slavery. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, co-wrote an 1871 piece called The Women of Mormonism, urging American women to unite to, quote, break the fetters of Mormon women and free them from what she called degrading bondage. In 1856, the brand new Republican Party promised to stamp out the, quote, twin relics of barbarism, polygamy, and slavery. In 1862, with the Civil War going on, Congress passed the Moral Anti-Bigamy Act. It banned plural marriage in all United States territories, including Utah, and put limits on how much property churches could own. Abraham Lincoln signed it on July 8th, 1862, but then mostly ignored it. There's bigger things going on in the country at the time.
It's one way of putting it.
Also, the federal government had limited reach in Utah. According to later accounts, Lincoln took a if you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone approach to Brigham Young. For about a decade, almost no one was prosecuted under that law, and saints just kept living as they had.
Which it also makes total sense, right? We're at Civil War and then dealing with Reconstruction. Like, who gives a fuck about this far out territory that really doesn't impact our day-to-day lives? You could see how that would just fall by the wayside and not become a real issue for a while.
Yeah, and they're probably like, thank God they're way out there and we don't have to fucking deal with them for the most part. That's what I say every day when I wake up.
Well, but that's like, that makes sense with what Lincoln said. Like, leave me alone, we'll leave you alone. Like, yeah, they got a lot of shit going on. Lincoln does, and our country just trying to be a country that. Yeah, that's not really at the top of your list of things you need to fix.
Nope,
right now.
Not at that time. Nope.
After the Civil War, a full-blown national campaign started to get rid of Mormon plural marriage. In 1874, Congress passed the Poland Act, which overhauled Utah's court system. It stripped Mormon local courts of a lot of power, handed more authority to federally appointed judges, and made it easier to bring and prosecute anti-polygamy cases. They set this up a lot similar to Nauvoo, right? Remember, Nauvoo was essentially a cult compound that turned into a fucking real place with laws and stuff. That's kind of what's going on with Utah right now.
And on top of that, I heard it still exists, Utah, and most of the people, even to this day, are Mormon out there. I read that somewhere. Yeah. Shocking.
We should blow them out of the sky.
Send them all to Kolob in one fell swoop.
I have not spent a lot of time in Utah. I might have driven through it. I don't remember. It seems like a pretty place, geographically. Like that could be fun. They just recently got an NHL team. That's kind of cool in Salt Lake City.
What's the team?
The Utah Mammoth, which is an okay name. It was not my first. This is their second year in the league. Their first year in the league, they were just called the Utah Hockey Club, is the fans then got to vote. And honestly, I thought Utah Hockey Club was a pretty cool name. I might have kept that. But the final 5 voting names, I don't remember them all. Mammoth was one. I liked Outlaws, the Utah Outlaws. I thought sounded pretty cool, but they went with Mammoth. That's all right.
Was polygamous one of the choices? Utah polygamous?
It was not.
No.
Despite my numerous emails, it was not. It was not chosen as one of the finalists. Dear bigots, I fully submit to you for your hockey club, the team Polygamous. Alas, they got pretty cool uniforms though.
Yeah, I could see that being a cool logo.
Yeah.
Depending on how it was done.
It's not bad.
Their uniform should be like the Magic Underpants. That's what they should have to wear on ice. They'd win every game, right? God on their side.
Dave, that's alternate uniforms. Every team has a couple alternate uniforms. They got their Magic Underpants uniforms.
They wear those on games on Brigham Young and Joseph Smith's birthday.
Yeah, right.
So there's these new judges, right? They're not used to any of this, like actually having to follow real laws. So they wanted to test it out and see what would happen here. So this guy named George Reynolds, a Mormon and secretary to Brigham Young, volunteered to be a test case. He let himself get in trouble and be charged with bigamy so that the church, like I said, could push the issue up the legal ladder and, see what they can get away with, essentially.
That's how you do it, yeah.
Reynolds argued that plural marriage was protected by the First Amendment's guarantee of religious freedom. The federal government argued that the belief is protected, but actions that break criminal law are not. The case did go all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. In January 1879, the court ruled that religious belief is absolutely protected, but religious motivated actions can still be punished if they violate general laws, bigamy included. One of the examples that they gave was, if polygamy exists because someone's religion requires it, then human sacrifice would have to also be allowed if someone's religion required that as well. Like, where do you draw the line?
Excellent point. I think we need some more of that common sense today.
By this point, Brigham Young had died, So John Taylor, a strong believer in plural marriage, was now church president. He didn't care about the Reynolds ruling at all and said that they should just move forward without changing anything.
That's the thing. These guys, this whole Utah, all these people thought that they didn't have to answer to the rest of the country. They just thought they were out there on their own. Our laws didn't apply to them. Big problem.
Well, and that goes back to what we said before. When you've had 10 years of just kind of, there's law in place, but you're left alone, you kind of get accustomed to it, right? Yeah. And so now they're like, this will pass. We'll just go about our lives. Let's not maybe stir up any shit, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
That's exactly it, yeah.
In March 1882, Congress turned up the heat with the Edmunds Act. Instead of just targeting polygamous marriages, it created a new crime called unlawful cohabitation. Prosecutors didn't need proof of a marriage ceremony anymore. They just had to show that a man was living with more than one woman as wives. I feel like that one seems like a bit of an overreach, maybe.
Telling you what to do in your own home and who you can live with? Yeah, I would say a little bit. I don't know how you balance it out, though. I don't.
That's the thing about this is like I know you are too, or all three of us are, like a very firm believer in like, I don't care what you do on your own time. Like if it's not bothering me, I don't really, and you're not breaking any laws, like I don't give a fuck what you're doing. Necessarily, maybe not even breaking laws. I don't know. I just don't care what people do generally.
I mean, for the most part, if you're breaking a law, but it doesn't impact me or other people, I don't give a fuck. Just do whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you're not hurting someone else, don't, whatever.
Well, and I would go further. I would say if there's even a law in the books that you're doing by breaking by yourself that's not affecting anyone else, that law should probably not be on the books because you should be able to do whatever you want. So,
yeah.
I'm a little torn on the whole polygamy thing. I don't know. Should people be allowed to have more wives than one, multiple wives if they want? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't affect me. I'm not sure. Look, I should be in the business of telling people what they can do.
In general, I don't give a shit about polygamy. And I don't think, I'm not sure most people do. I think this one is just more these women are kind of being forced into these marriages, right? Like, I think the question is how much of a say are they actually having in a lot of this, which I think is the biggest issue, right?
Yeah, but I don't know how you would ever gauge that. When you're born into this religion, you teach that that's what God wants. At some point, they're not making you do it. You're right? I don't know how you...
I'm just talking generally. But yeah, I agree. When all these women who are now allowed to vote come out and tell Congress, hey, we're choosing this. This is our belief. If I'm in Congress, I'm going, well, what the fuck do you want me to do about it then? They're telling me they're happy. They're fine. Like,
yeah, right.
Whatever. But in general, I don't know. If you want to marry a bunch of women, what the fuck do I care?
Yeah, I mean, if you die, I don't think we should pay out 25 women on your Social Security benefits. I mean, we can, but they're gonna get 1/25 share. We're not doing that kind of bullshit. But if you want to support multiple women, what the fuck do I care?
Same time, if a woman wants 5 husbands, 10 husbands, go for it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Right? My opinion of it is like that it leads to abuse and issues. Obvious, like historically, what we've covered here, there's all kind of pedophilia going on. But like if you get to current day where like a couple of reality TV shows where it's consenting adults and stuff, like I don't know, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And also, would that not be the ultimate cuck when you fuck a wife and all 10 of her husbands are watching you fuck her? Like that's the holy grail for a bull, is to do that. So, I'm still chasing that dream. I just need Congress to work with me on this a little bit.
It's a gangbang dreamer. A boy can dream.
It would literally be a circle jerk of just the husbands jerking while I bang their wife in front of them. I'd have to wear a splash guard on my back just to be safe. All right, somebody talk. I'm done.
That act also stripped political rights from anyone believed to be a polygamist. So more than 12,000 Mormon men were kicked off voter rolls, and banned from jury service and public office unless they swore an anti-polygamy oath. A federally appointed Utah commission oversaw elections and enforced these rules, which gave, something that they were, like you were saying, Dave, that they're not used to. They're not used to outsiders having control of things.
Absolutely not. Yeah. They want to run the show.
Is it also back then? Is it the issue of like marriage should just be between a man and a woman? Is there some biblical thing behind the single? Like, I can't see all kinds of, like, unfortunately, men being like rallying around women's rights necessarily.
Like, what was the outrage? You wouldn't expect such an outrage from people back east. Like, what do they care?
Yeah, for like this whole thing, really.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is it he's promoting his weird ass ideas of Jesus? Is it all like compound into one big thing?
Moral outrage, I suppose. I mean, or was it men being jealous that they didn't get to tap all that punani like the Mormons out west, right? Is that what's going on here? Jealousy? I don't think so.
No, because they weren't really just doing that. They were taking care of their families.
Sure. I don't know. I think it's just anti-establishment stuff and moral crusading, just out of the norm. So most people don't like it. Shocking to our great nation's Christian sensibilities of the time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
At that point, tons of polygamous men decided to go underground. They lived like fugitives, moving constantly, using aliases, hiding in safe houses. Some fled to Mormon colonies in Mexico or to remote corners of Arizona. The church set up a quiet network to hide high-profile leaders. In the mid-1880s, it was normal for a polygamist to rarely sleep in his own home. He might sneak in late at night to see his family and leave again before dawn. Some homes had hidden rooms or trap doors. It's a very intense situation out there.
They're like revolutionaries sneaking around because the government has hits on them and they have to avoid, being found and stuff, just so they can have these multiple wives.
Wives and kids adapted to this as well. Families used warning signals like hanging a quilt a certain way on the fence to let them know, to let a man know that marshals were nearby so he shouldn't come home.
I heard that they used to hang skid-marked magic underpants out the window when the cops were nearby. The sign was poo-poo for popo.
Were the underpants skid marked because they had loose anuses from all the butt sex they were having with their husbands? Just asking. I don't know.
It's possible. Did God command that too?
Maybe that's a workaround. Like, oh well, she's my wife, but we've never actually had intercourse. I just put it in her fucking pooper, and so it's a work around the law.
Yeah, the poop hole loophole, if you will, Mike.
There you go.
Isn't that what Jodi Arias was doing with her boyfriend?
Yeah, anal poop hole loophole. They were Mormon, right?
Yeah, she was converting for him.
Yeah. You guys are the experts on her. It's your wifey material, not mine.
That proves it even more. She'll take it in her shit box anytime you want, and she'll convert to this wacky religion for you. You're telling me that's not a keeper there? Come on.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Wasn't she also breaking in and making chocolate chip cookies and shit too, and like acting like a housewife, but like breaking into his home to do it?
Yeah, like well after they had broken up.
Yeah.
Well, no one's perfect, Mike. God.
No thanks. I'll just use Pornhub for 20 minutes and be done.
20 minutes.
Well, you gotta find the right video. light a candle, put on some Enya,
Even with all that sneaking around and like this elaborate system, hundreds of Mormon men were arrested and territorial judges wanted to send a message. In 1884, Rutger Clausen, a polygamist who refused to plead guilty or cooperate, got hit with the maximum sentence, 3.5 years in prison plus a really large fine. He served about 2.5 before getting a pardon. Aside from that initial one where they threw the book at that guy, most of them got 6 months to a year.
Not bad.
But women got pulled into this as well. Like they were pulled into courts. Some of them were, charged with perjury for lying and stuff. It was a crackdown on all Mormons, really.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. The changing season brings colder temperatures and days that grow darker. This can be a tough time for many people, feeling sluggish, unmotivated, or even depressed. This November, BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out. Check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and be sure to remind people in your life that you're there. And just like it can take a little courage to ask someone you haven't seen in a while to go get lunch, reaching out for therapy can feel difficult too. But guess what? It's worth it. And it almost always leaves people asking, why didn't I do this sooner? BetterHelp has been helping people find their match for over 12 years, having served over 5 million people globally, and has a 4.9 out of 5 rating with 1.7 million client reviews. If you're looking for quality, BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. After filling out a brief questionnaire, you'll be matched with a therapist that is tailored to fulfill your needs. And it's convenient, too. You can join with a therapist at the click of a button, helping fit therapy into your busy life. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/necro. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/necro.
The government also aimed at the church's wallet. In 1887, Congress passed the Edmunds-Tucker Act, which tried to take the church out as an institution. It dissolved the corporate status of the LDS Church, ordered the seizure of church property above a small amount, including temples, took away Utah women's right to vote, required civil marriage licenses, and disbanded the Nauvoo Legion. That's the Mormon militia you brought up earlier, Dave. Wilford Woodruff became church president in 1889. He was in his 80s, and how it's told is he's kind of wrestled with what to do about this whole issue. All these guys come into power when they're super fucking old, too. That's one thing.
Fresh blood in there, maybe.
Woodruff said he spent long hours in prayer in the summer of 1890. He said God showed him what would happen if they dug in. The government would seize all of the temples, leaders would stay in prison, or worse, and the church might be destroyed completely.
I think of worse things.
On September 25th, 1890, he issued a statement that became known as the Manifesto, or Official Declaration 1. It was written with help of other leaders and lawyers, and it sounds more like a legal affidavit than a thunderbolt from God revelation. It said that the church was no longer teaching or encouraging plural marriage, and they would obey the law of the land. Woodruff said he would, quote, advise the Latter-day Saints to refrain from contracting any marriage forbidden by the law of the land. He didn't write, though, like specifically that God revealed to me that polygamy is over. He framed it as a response to what was going on legally, which left a lot of, polygamists or, Mormons wondering how permanent this really was.
Like he was winking with one eye as he wrote that and read the declaration.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of them thought, that, this was for show and that Plural marriage would go underground for a bit, and then once the heat was off, they would go back to as they had for all these years. There were a few spots in Canada and Mexico that were still doing plural marriages, but for the most part, Woodruff and the top leaders really meant that it was over in the United States. In the months afterward, Woodruff tried to stabilize the church by reframing the Manifesto as revelation. In later sermons, he said he'd gone to the Lord in prayer and the Lord told him to issue it. He said that he wouldn't have been willing to die for plural marriage if God asked, but, quote, the Lord had not required it.
It's amazing. Isn't God supposed to be infallible and has created the heavens and the earth? But like 30 years later, he changed his mind about the plural marriage thing. Or 60 years, whatever the fucking time frame was. Makes you wonder.
God's allowed to make mistakes, pal.
Yeah.
My God is.
After a while, federal pressure started to ease up. In 1893, President Benjamin Harrison offered general amnesty to polygamists who would promise to obey marriage laws going forward. The church gradually got back confiscated property, including the Salt Lake Temple, which was dedicated that same year. Utah's new state constitution banned polygamy, and Utah became a state in January 1896.
Do you know what their state motto was?
What was it?
Brigham Young. Oh, man.
Or so I've heard. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Just rumors and innuendos.
Yeah.
Men who'd been out hiding from marshals came home and either registered with the government or took advantage of amnesty. They did not suddenly divorce their wives. Church leaders insisted that the men were still responsible for every wife and all the kids that they had. They just weren't allowed to add more. So because of that, plural families continued in Utah and nearby areas for decades after 1890. You just weren't allowed to add more.
Well, at least they didn't throw them out in the street, right? That was awfully nice.
Yeah. Not so much for like those 14-year-old boys, but they're still gone. You got to throw them out.
Yeah, well, you know, nobody's perfect.
Some members couldn't stomach the change. Over time, a minority split off into what became fundamentalist groups, especially after a second manifesto in 1904. That second statement said anyone who entered into or performed new plural marriages would be excommunicated. That's when the church really started cutting off people for polygamy, like just chop off a whole family if need be.
It's serious when the Unabomber style now, manifestos, they mean business.
Most members accepted the new policy and tried to trust that this was God's will. But by the late 1920s, enough people believed polygamy should have never ended. It was enough to form a secret priesthood council to keep it going without the LDS church's approval. They saw themselves as preserving the original Mormon doctrine. One of the places they picked as a safe base was a remote valley on the Utah-Arizona border called Short Creek. Starting in the late 1930s, fundamentalist families moved there, more than 200 miles from Salt Lake and far from most serious law enforcement. Men openly took multiple wives again. Kids grew up living like the old ways of Joseph Smith. And the literal state line running through town became a survival trick. If Arizona officers showed up, you could step right across the street into Utah. If Utah officers came, you could cross back into Arizona.
Smart. Very clever indeed. Like the old Dukes of Hazzard trick. You got to get to the county line. You're good to go, man. Sheriff can't cross that line.
That's some good old fuckery.
I do have one question, though, Ian. I think you mispronounced it. It's Short Crick. I prefer the Google pronunciation. Short Crick.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We abide by the crick pronunciation on this show. henceforth.
This is the place I was talking about. Maybe it was way back on part 1. Whenever Joseph Smith was drawing Zion out, remember I was talking about how he had those like really elaborate city plans that had to have taken him forever to make. This place is built directly, like it is modeled after his maps of Zion. Yeah. In 1935, the mainstream LDS church started aggressively excommunicating anyone caught practicing or preaching plural marriage. Kind of like a purge. This was like the last final push to get it out. Leroy Johnson, better known later as Uncle Roy, and his wife were among those cut off that year for refusing to drop the principle. They moved to Short Creek with other hardcore believers, and we'll get into Uncle Roy in a little bit here.
Can't wait.
He sounds like a Leroy, right?
Yeah.
Uncle Roy. In 1936, the community created a small cooperative trust to hold land and resources. A few years later, they renamed it United Effort Plan. The trust officially owned everything: homes, land, and some businesses. In theory, this followed early Mormon ideals of living all things common, like everybody. It's communal. In practice, it protected families from losing their property if the government targeted individual men, because technically nothing was in men's personal names.
Genius.
By the 1940s, about 400 people lived in Short Creek. They farmed, built homes, and practiced their religion with relatively little interference, but everyone understood that a raid could come someday.
That's when you hang the poo-poo pants outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just get the warning up. Poo-poo for popo.
Yep.
No poo-poo, no popo. Simple.
When all is clean, all is well.
That's good. Yeah.
On July 26, 1953, Arizona Governor Howard Pyle decided to make an example out of Short Creek. He personally authorized a massive raid. State police and National Guard troops rolled into town, while many residents were at a group prayer. Officers arrested as many adult men as they could, dozens of polygamous husbands, and herded women and children into the schoolhouse. In total, 122 adults were taken and 263 kids were declared wards of the state. The governor, on paper, this looked good to them, but this blew up in his face. There are pictures of these kids being dragged away from their mothers. It just didn't. The optics looked really bad.
I have to ask, why didn't they just step into Utah? I thought that was the plan.
They probably did try that. They probably hopped across the state line, and then the National Guard was like, yeah, we don't care about that.
You start laughing at him. Okay.
Within weeks, Arizona kind of started backing off. Many of the parents were released, charges were dropped, and families started going back to Short Creek. And Pyle lost his next election. So maybe it was a little try to figure it out. What they say, with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer or whatever. Don't go in there just fucking tearing all these kids away from their families.
Yeah, Governor Pyle did go on to have a second career. People know him probably by his nickname, Gomer Pyle. He joined the Marine Corps and he had his own sitcom in the 60s.
I believe a spinoff of the Andy Griffith Show, if I'm not mistaken.
See, there you go. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I know my Andy Griffith.
After that, Short Creek kind of tried to disappear from being a thing to the outside world. In 1960, the Arizona side renamed Colorado City, and the Utah side would later incorporate as Hilldale. Everybody who lived there still just said Short Creek, but this is for legal reasons.
I was browsing Zillow today for properties in Hilldale just to see what's doing out there. Looks like a nice place, some nice houses.
Are you going to invest in some property out there?
I was considering just if this multiple wives thing ever came back. I just wanted to be at the ready.
Yeah. Sure.
I looked at the 2020 census. There was roughly 1,100 people in Hilldale, so a very small place.
Were there any houses for sale?
Yeah.
Really?
There was one for like a mil. Was it a mil and a half? And it looked like it maybe had been a compound at one time and it's now being run as like a multi-housing, 40-unit rental. I'm like, but there was a bunch of wives in this place at one time and it was converted. So, yeah.
Husband's walking around to his wives. You get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house.
Through the 1960s and 70s, the community modernized a bit. Roads got better. They expanded schools a bit. But we talked about it earlier. It's very expensive to pay for one child, let alone having like 50 kids. So money is always very tight. They also turned to welfare fraud, which the leaders of the Mormon church, they frame it as, quote, bleeding the beast, or at least they did back then.
Clever.
Because plural wives weren't legally married on paper, they could file as single mothers with lots of kids and qualify for government benefits. More kids meant more money, and families routed a lot of that cash through church-linked stores and projects, and the UEP, that's their, what did we say? Like a trust, right? Is that what I said earlier?
That sounds right. Whatever their organization was that owned everything.
Yeah.
The United Effort Plan. The trust owned everything.
So they would funnel everything, these government benefits, through to their system. Eventually, in this closed economy, the UEP owned nearly everything. And at this point, this is not about protecting property anymore. The prophet and his council decided who lived in which house, who got what land, and who was allowed to stay at all. If you were obedient, you could live in a UEP home your entire life. If you crossed the leadership, you might be told to get out, meaning immediate homelessness because the house isn't yours.
Quite a thing to hold over people's heads.
Yeah, that's the risk, right? Giving all your money and everything to an organization like this. Get your ass booted right out one day.
A roof is the ultimate. I think that's one of the things I've learned about this cult, like reading through all this stuff, is just how big of a ultimatum that is.
Like you said, the roof, like having a house, you mean?
Yeah, like having a roof over your head. Like that is a really big ultimatum.
Yeah.
Sure. When you've grown up your whole life in such an insular place and you don't know anybody and you don't have any contacts, and if they booted you, like where would you go? You'd have no options and no choices. So sure, it's probably everything.
Yeah. You got to pack up, head out, and restart somewhere from the gutter, really, and just work your way up. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the boys that we'll talk about next week that get kicked out and stuff. But a lot of them, like their moms or, and parents and stuff, their families are still in the church and are believers, and like they have nobody. So that's a motivating factor to stay in line, right? When you see your other friends and stuff get kicked out like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So during these years in Short Creek, the leader was Leroy Johnson, Uncle Roy. Born in 1888, he'd been in fundamentalist circles for a long time and became the de facto prophet on the Utah-Arizona Strip by 1949. Leroy was short, soft-spoken, and came across as kind of like a kindly grandfather kind of guy, but he was absolutely serious about obedience. His favorite slogan was, "Keep sweet no matter what." keep sweet meant don't argue, don't show anger, don't complain. When women were jealous, kids were upset, the answer was just keep sweet. Pray, smile, and submit. Leroy taught that this sweetness and obedience would keep God's protection over the community. He was described as like this kindly, like jolly grandfather kind of person, but he is 100% a piece of shit for how he's treating women in this situation and how they are purposely keeping women and girls uneducated. Like we're here right now where they're purposely keeping girls stupid.
Makes sense, right? If you understand the world and you, at some point it clicks that maybe this isn't where you should be.
By the late 1970s, Leroy Johnson was almost 90, but still personally overseeing marriages and day-to-day decisions. For years, he had led with the help of a priesthood council made up of older men. Over time, that council shrank as members died, and Leroy didn't replace them. Over those years, he became more and more convinced that only one man at a time could truly hold God's keys, and that ultimate authority couldn't really be shared with a council.
Weird how all these cult leaders have that same idea, huh?
Yeah.
Was Uncle Roy still banging at this time in his 90s with all these wives, or was he calling in a service like Mike runs to help him out with this? Cucks across Utah, maybe.
Well,
Rule-on goes into later years, so maybe.
and the idea of cucking is that you're going to get off on it, right? That's like your kink. If he can't get off, I'm not sure watching me dick down his 57 wives is going to make, much of a difference for him. Especially because if he didn't give a shit about their pleasure, clearly he don't give a fuck about them. So I'm not sure this is a perfect cucking arrangement. And I think I would turn down this offer. Mr. Roy, if that is in fact your name.
Your logic is undeniable, Mike. Thank you for walking us through that.
Look, I'm just trying to help beta cucks get off. I'm not trying to help chauvinistic pigs, whore out their wives, so to speak.
I clap for you, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Mike Namapod 2028. We're putting that all on fucking bumper stickers.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
In February 1984, Leroy announced that he had a divine direction, that he was dissolving what was left of the priesthood council and removing 2 senior counselors who had served with him for years. They refused to accept it and openly questioned his decision. Leroy didn't back down, and after everything was said and done, he had them excommunicated, like the whole family, like family tree kind of things. Get the fuck out of Short Creek.
It's good to be the king, right?
Yeah, right? The expelled families moved a few miles south and eventually formed what became the town of Centennial Park. They kept plural marriage, but rejected Leroy's one-man rule model. The ones who stayed in Short Creek doubled down on loyalty to Uncle Roy and the idea that God worked through one man at a time. And that's kind of what it started with Joseph Smith, though, in the beginning, right? God was only talking to him.
He was the man.
Look, cults don't work if it runs through multiple people. It has to be one man, right? Otherwise, these just aren't going to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just the Mormon church, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We wouldn't be doing episodes if it was run through a council or multiple people.
Leroy Johnson died in his sleep in November 1986 at 98 years old after more than 30 years as prophet. His death left people devastated, and that's a huge void there when the only leader that a lot of people have ever known is gone. And remember, he wasn't filling those roles of that counselor as people died, so there's no real the inner circle got smaller and smaller and smaller, and this guy's fucking 98 years old, right? Like, how big could the inner circle be? So when he died, there wasn't really any like power struggle. Rulon Jeffs just kind of stepped right in. Rulon was 77 years old at the time, born in 1909 into a polygamous family. He had spent years in Salt Lake City helping manage finances for the Fundamentalist group, working as a tax accountant and expanding UAP assets. He wasn't as deeply rooted in like the big Short Creek families. Like there were families that go back forever, you know. So some of the prominent families, like those people, questioned things when Uncle Roy died. Like, wait a second, we should get a claim here or something.
Line of succession, yeah, of course.
Leroy should have set it up, right?
He should have. But what you have to remember is his name's Rulon, so he is going to rule on. It's his name. You can't fight that. God named him. God wanted him to rule on. End of story.
What do you guys think about that name? I've never heard that name before.
Rulon, it's okay. I don't love it.
No, I hate it. I find it objectionable.
Okay. Wow, that's harsh.
It's a bad name. It's stupid.
I like that we went from a 90-year-old to a 77-year-old running things. Like we're talking about the United States of America.
I got some fresh blood in here to shake things up.
A strapping young 77-year-old.
He's destined to rule on for decades and decades and decades.
At Leroy's funeral and in the meetings that followed, Rulon presented himself as the new prophet and president of what was formerly called the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and said that the one-man system would continue through him. Most members accepted this without open resistance. We've already talked about it, how, you know, when you do resist, you get kicked out of your house. So, you know, that's a tough thing to resist. We said Uncle Roy had like this kindly grandfather thing. Rulon was the exact opposite. He was very organizational and very strict. He tightened the FLDS structure, pursued formal incorporation, and pulled more land and houses into the UEP so that legitimately everything in Short Creek was technically church property under his control. He preached separation from the outside world and purity inside the group. Television, which had already, it was frowned on and like you couldn't watch everything. Like there was rules to what you could watch, but now it's gone. TVs are flat out banned.
Well, Dave's out.
Yeah, that's not for me.
No, you can't watch movies anymore, Dave. What are you going to do?
It's the golden age of television up in here, man. You know how much good TV's out there these days?
What is Dave to do if he can't watch the ABCs of death or the human centipede?
The ABCs of death. Good stuff.
The keep sweet thing was still there, but the tone was completely different now. And it was essentially a command at this point to be completely silent and compliant. Mothers were told not to fuss over kids in public or show too much outward affection because Rulon taught that fathers and ultimately the prophet, like he himself, held the real authority over kids' lives and souls. Everyday life in Short Creek got more controlled as well. Worthy priesthood men gathered regularly to hear detailed instructions from Rulon about everything: how to vote, how to dress, what haircuts were acceptable, where to work. Rulon also expanded the FLDS practice of placement marriage. In this system, only the prophet can decide who marries whom. Traditional dating doesn't exist. When a girl reached what the group considered marriageable age, often mid-teens. So we're, this is pedophilia. Bring them young, full on. No.
Sorry, I tried to sneak that clip in there.
Once they hit this age, her father would go to Rulon and ask him to choose her husband by revelation. Rulon personally made those calls. He often paired very young girls with much older men who had proven their loyalty through years of service to Rulon.
Oh, that sounds fucking awful.
The documentary on Netflix, the Keep Sweet one, it's hard to watch the young women that were given away to these men as when they were like 14. It's really
just disgusting.
I was gonna say disgusting.
You imagine your daughter turns 14 and you're like, well, let's go see who this old fuck wants her to marry.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. More often than not, you go in there, your daughter's a smoke show. So he's like, it's weird. God told me that she should marry me. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with a lot of the girls. He had so many wives.
I'm sure. Gross. Blech.
A lot of the young women on that Netflix documentary were wives of Rulon's. So like they were married to him when they were like 16 or something. And anybody that's like been really into this series, it's worth watching and checking out and like listening to their experience about being married, like being brought in front of him to be, married, and then find out like, oh wait, no, I'm not going to marry a guy. I'm actually going to marry this like fucking 80-year-old man. Rulon also used marriage as a weapon. He sometimes reassigned wives and children from one man to another if he decided the original husband was, quote, unworthy. Maybe the man had questioned Rulon, complained, or, was fucking up with money or something. And when that happened, there's nothing that a displaced husband could do.
You lose your house.
Women raised to believe the prophet spoke directly for God were taught that their salvation hinged on obeying whatever marriage assignment came, even if it meant leaving their kids and first husband to marry someone else. These reassignments weren't like an everyday thing, but a couple of them happen and you're like, oh shit, we should all probably stay in line because look what happened to that family.
Of course. Yeah.
Watching all of this system and how all of these things have played out was one of Rulon's sons, Warren Steed Jeffs. We're finally here after what? Like 3.5 weeks.
This is what the show was going to be. This was going to be our episode.
Warren is he's very tall, thin, very, very intense. Like everything's by the books. You can like see a picture of him. He's like the definition of
by the books.
Yeah, or like when you say, "Oh yeah, fucking nerd," like when you make those jokes, yeah. Warren Jeffs is like the dude I picture.
I'm looking him up. Yeah, that's a fucking nerd.
Only got laid because your daddy Rulon's in charge and assigned women to you.
Just an early thought. I don't think I like this guy. Maybe I'll change my mind. We'll see.
He's nerdier than Keith Raniere.
Well, I don't see any knee pad photos, but he does look nerdier.
Yeah, no, I'm talking looks.
Yeah. This guy. Like, I feel like one punch would just knock this guy unconscious.
Yeah.
From anybody. One solid punch to his jaw, and this guy's broken. Also, is he tall?
Yeah.
Yeah, these photos, he looks pretty tall.
Yeah, he's like super tall and lanky.
Yeah. All right. Oh, fuck him. I hate him already.
He was born December 3rd, 1955, about 3 months premature, and his survival was treated as a miracle. Rulon took that as a sign that Warren had a special destiny. And so, like, to kind of put that in perspective as to how special Rulon thought Warren was, Rulon had approximately, depending on the reporting, 60 to 65 wives and around 60 children, with 33 of those children being sons. And Warren was singled out as the favorite out of all of them.
I was just going to say, so look at a picture of Warren and think that is the best of all the offspring. And imagine what the other fucking the Knicks look like, right? The other 32 sons.
Oof. Rulon, stop fucking doing a cum in women. You're not good at it.
Time to stop this DNA pool. No more. It ends here.
So Warren's kind of always by his dad's side from an early age, and he was always described as very rigid, followed the rules, would tattle on all the other kids for like the smallest things.
He really is a fucking nerd.
He went to Jordan High School in Sandy, Utah, an ordinary public school outside FLDS territory. Classmates there remembered him as quiet, polite, and distant, more diligent and, like I said, rigid than smart.
Okay. That's not bad. It's not
No,
terrible.
that's not a bad thing.
No, that's okay.
But we'll play some of the clips of him next week, and he's not to show that he's necessarily intimidating sounding, but he is just like so like by the books type dude, you know. After high school, he skipped college and went straight into working for the church, helping Rulon with finances and internal operations. By his early 20s, he was teaching doctrinal classes to FLDS children. Around 1978, the FLDS opened the Alta Academy, a private school on a fenced compound at the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon near Salt Lake. Some FLDS families lived on the property. Warren started out as a teacher, but pretty quick he rised to become principal. For the next 20 plus years, he ran Alta Academy and shaped a whole generation of FLDS youth.
Our pal Egg Dick started out as a teacher as well, so maybe there's still hope for Warren yet.
Jeez.
It's an interesting aspect of this cult that I didn't know, that it's like a cult within a cult. Like it's been an issue with the polygamy, like pedophilia and like the classic cult money stuff. But like now Warren has the youth of this group, and they're essentially just answering to him now. You know what I mean?
You got to indoctrinate early. As Ian would say, you have to
bring them young.
That's how you get to them. As their brains are forming.
As their brains are forming. Jesus Christ.
Once they leave the premortal spirit world and get shot up the vacuum tube, the brains start forming. That's when you got to get them.
Warren's motto, posted on the walls, was perfect obedience produces perfect faith, which produces perfect people.
Sounds like something Hitler might have said.
Right?
That's a thing.
He was very meant that literally. Tiny rule breaks, like having an untucked shirt or laughing at the wrong time, were treated as major violations. Kids were drilled on. Kids were drilled on this obedience to him. But that's what I mean when I was trying to say, like, it's like a layer to the cult, because the obedience in here, it starts to shift where, like, even though Rulon is seen as the prophet to everybody, these kids start to look at Warren as the prophet. They're not really acknowledging Rulon as much anymore.
Because he's an old, decrepit old guy. And this guy's probably, subtly assuming the leadership position.
Well, and these kids like live here. Like, this is a compound. They're FLDS families that, like, maybe they don't live in Short Creek, but they subscribe to this belief system.
Yeah.
Will send their kids to this academy to stay and live there. So it's not like a go home after school type situation.
Got it.
Warren enforced strict modesty, no short sleeves, no bright colors or casual talking. FLDS parents loved the idea and sent their kids up to Utah for months at a time to sit under Warren's strict control. But like we were saying, like the kids start viewing Warren as the prophet more than the prophet himself, or even God. Like, these kids are coming out of here fully committed to the Jeffs family. Not so much God anymore.
Not very holy, if you ask me.
So Rulon was old when he accepted, or kind of stepped into the role of being the new prophet. So he doesn't have like a ton of time left.
What did we say? 77, 78?
77 when he took over.
Oh.
And as his health declines, Warren started to become more and more like a gatekeeper. If you wanted access to the prophet, you had to go through Warren. The men who challenged Warren found themselves in trouble with Rulon too. And by 1997, how it's told, it was obvious to many that Warren was the next prophet. He was at least being groomed at that point. Warren stood at his father's side during important meetings, whispering to him, taking notes, and delivering more and more Sunday sermons. And he would say that he was relaying all of these messages from his father about tightening the rules.
I think we have some audio of that whispering. Let's see what we can get here. Bring them young. Bring them young. Yeah, it was secret tape that they smuggled out of there. That's what he was saying.
Dave,
That was actual audio.
Yeah.
That's incredible research. Good job finding that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
The following year, in 1998, a major turning point came. That spring, Rulon suffered a serious stroke. He survived, but was entirely dependent on Warren.
He suffered a what?
A serious stroke.
A serious stroke? That sounds devastating. Warren, can you change my poo-poo pants? There's no po-po. I got poo-poo everywhere.
Oh, Larry, it's good to have you back. We've missed you.
Bring them young. Bring them young.
So Warren used this moment to push a long-standing idea that he had, gathering all faithful FLDS members into Short Creek. For years, both he and Rulon had been preaching that the end of the world was close, that sometime around the year 2000, remember too, this was like Y2K time, so everybody was like super hyped on the year 2000. So they jumped in on that and said Jesus would come back, the world would be burned, and the small faithful would be lifted up and later sent back to rebuild Zion. Warren repeated those prophecies constantly. God, he said, would preserve the prophet and those who stayed close to him, but everybody else was done for. In 1999, speaking on behalf of his father, Warren ordered FLDS families living in Canada and in the Salt Lake area to move down to Short Creek so they could, quote, outlive the end of the world. Locals remember him kicking out longtime residents out of their UEP houses to make room for the most obedient newcomers and cramming incoming families into like little apartment kind of things. One account talked about how roughly 600 people were being located and stuffed into rundown units that had once been military housing. The doomsday preaching shaped pretty much everything going on at this point. Some FLDS families ran up huge credit card debts. Like, fuck it. There's no point of, we're not going to have to worry about bills anymore because the world's going to end. A lot of them were, focusing on food storage and that kind of stuff. When nothing happened on the various dates that Rulon, more than likely Warren, hinted at, 98, 99, then the 2000, nothing happened. He didn't back off. He just keeps, punting the ball. They Rulon, but in reality, probably Warren, found out that the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics were coming right around the corner. And that is where we will pick back up on part 4.
God damn.
They put together an Olympic bobsledding team and won the gold medal and retired in glory.
With John Candy as their coach?
I was going to say the Cool Runnings.
Amazing. I love that they still do this gag of predicting when the world will end. Like, don't you know by now this doesn't work? And it's very silly.
Guys, we have a lot of people that listen to us. I'm just saying. Maybe we pick a date and we tell them, and obviously this is all off air, of course. We're going to cut all of this out. If they donate to us, they will be saved when that date comes. Just saying, we should put that in the books.
I'd be open to that discussion.
Okay, we just started a cult. Cool Down Media cult. We don't even make no bones about it. It's a Cool Down Media cult.
And then when it happens and nothing happens on that date, we'll just say that Declan had the wrong year. And we'll just put it out.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Guys, I love this. I'm so glad we cut all this from the show and no one will ever hear this.
We can just publicly beat him too whenever it's wrong. Blame him, publicly beat him.
Lashings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
if you're
people see that there's repercussions for it.
And if you're a high donor, you get to lash him as well. No. Now, be warned, he will come as you lash him. He's into that shit, I have found out, unfortunately. But still, you can beat him.
I found out, unfortunately. Oh.
That's about right. His back is just bleeding, open, gaping wounds. He's dribbling cum in his cage. Oh boy. Man. All right. So we are 1/3 through this series on FLDS. We will finish this in June of 2026.
Yeah, we still have a ways away. Hopefully people are enjoying it.
Oh, I think people are. Yeah, I certainly have been. I love cult shows. We always talk about it. I know we say this all the time. I love the cult shit. It's one of my favorite things we cover. It's very fascinating just to hear how everyone kind of gets wrapped up in all this stuff.
The past couple weeks have been history and in building. The final 2 parts are going to be all more true crime related stuff. We'll get into Warren going out on the run and that kind of stuff.
Well, true crime is certainly interesting. Now that's going to wet everyone's whistle. If you're like cult, there's something for you, obviously. Yeah. Now we're getting to some true crime shit. That's good stuff. Ian, anything else you found in your research? Anything else we need to touch on, talk about?
Aside from the Netflix documentary that I talked about earlier, I've been using a book called Prophets Pray by Sam Brower and John Krakauer, maybe.
Crack Whore is what it's called. It's the life story of Betty Hill, I believe.
It's a really good book, and the guy, he is a private investigator that caught word of the stuff, some of the stuff, true crime aspects we're going to talk about next week. Some of the girls that, Warren was marrying underage, and this guy helped crack the case. So
people always are asking and love to hear like your sources and stuff. So I think that's good to put out there. If people want to touch more on this, check out that book.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
Prophets Pray. I believe there's a Hulu show based on it as well.
Is it Prey?
Yeah.
Clever.
See what they did there?
You knew it.
He's praying on him.
Yeah. All right. Ian, anything else on your end with that?
No, that's it.
No. Dave, what do we got on the old Patreon?
Well, we would like to thank and welcome the following new patrons: Thomas Mooney, Rochelle, Necronama Poon, Sleepy Chick, Kiss My Oreos, Haley Ween, Sharika Banks. Mike's tattoo is his BTK photos. You know what that means, Mike?
No. I do not.
Dave Bear Pig, Jennifer Evans, Desert Solitaire, Bobby P, Penny, Dude Moose, Pixelated Sasquatch, Squonk Supporter 69, Amber Jade, Pounding Diet Millers at Bills games. Like when they beat up on those Steelers, right?
It's embarrassing.
Bills games do look like fun times because they're a lot like Cleveland, except their team is winning now.
Right. And they have to shovel the stadium sometimes, all the fans, before they can go in there.
Yeah. I don't love that, but all right. If you're going to give me beer, I'll shovel.
Anita Balls Deep Ramming. Olivia O'Neill, Catherine Babick, Jackson White, Jim, Caroline Dranow, Matthew Haig, Nicholas Dye, Chomps, Irene Siren, Low Effort Frog, Jay Good, Joe, Bach, Adrian Cavallero, Tardy Pizza, Maybe Mike's the Cuck, Courtzilla, Brian, Holly, Alex A, Molly Bochanton, Libby, Emily Rhodes, Jackie Dillinger, Megan Irvine, Christy Vance. Can I watch Mike cuck my wife?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not a cucking. Then she's just cheating on you.
That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. Of course, pal. For $55, I will come fuck your wife in your bed. You also pay airfare and hotel.
Is cream pie a food? Question mark.
That's not. Yeah, that could be a full meal, right?
Depending on your point of view,
That's
pal.
vintage.
It's all about your taste.
Names tonight.
Maybe a lot of protein in that.
Kristen, Logan Brown, Alexander Stiles, Josh Coolin, Carol fucking Baskin, and Austin Dakin. Thank you, new patrons.
Whew, that was a big list.
It was.
That makes me feel good. Thank you very much. Ian, what else you got?
On Patreon, we just posted a bunch of stuff at the end of the month.
We had a hell of a week.
Yeah, we did Final Bites. That was part 2 of our Death Row Last Meals.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And then we also had Dave's Lost Stories over on Patreon.
They're lost
Always
no
good
more.
stuff. Yeah, now they're forever out there. The last meal show was a lot of fun just because it was something so different. And we got to like break down, and I think Dave kept score of everything of what we ranked. The amount of people that pick like milk and tomatoes is just baffling. And like, I'm a fan of tomatoes, but just the amount of people that pick that, you know, it's fun just to hear us. We'll discuss all that and break it down and give our own thoughts. It's a fun play along episode if you'd like.
Yeah.
Play along, give it your score. Tell us where we're fucking idiots and we're wrong, and tell us where we were right about things.
And then we have, December, we got a whole lineup of good stuff.
Now we got some holiday stuff lined up, which is always fun. And no spoilers, because obviously cards subject to change. So we'll see what happens, but it should be a good time. Dave, anything else on your end? Any last shout-outs?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we are on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram at Necronomipod, patreon.com/Necronomipod, Amazon.com, search Necronomipod for all of the merch, and Necronomipod.com.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.